Grace is my name. I recently received my degree in business communications from a tiny Pennsylvania college, and I am 24 years old. 3 years ago, I would have laughed out if you had asked me if I would eventually return to my parents' old beige house in the Pittsburgh suburbs after college. However, life has a humorous way of reminding you that things don't always go as planned. On a somber April afternoon, I clutched the handle of my battered bag and headed back to my family's comfortable beige home. I kept telling myself that this was only a short-term situation, 3 months, maybe 4 at most, and that I would have enough saved up for a down payment on a modest apartment close to the city center. I had already imagined it, a warm kitchen, large windows that let in plenty of natural light, and peaceful nights spent with just a cup of hot tea and myself. Fortunately, the job search didn't take as long as I had anticipated. Madison & Co., a rapidly expanding marketing agency in downtown Pittsburgh, made me an offer within 2 weeks. Although the initial pay wasn't very substantial, it was sufficient to provide me a sense of security. The quarterly performance bonuses also seemed like a good idea. I may achieve my objective of financial freedom even more quickly if I performed well. My heart was bursting with joy as I sat at my parents' dining table that evening. Dad was looking through an old newspaper as Mom was preparing tomato meatballs. I joyfully said, I got the job at Madison & Co., since I could no longer contain my excitement. Good pay with incentives every 3 months. Knives and forks ceased clinking instantly. Even before I became aware of the change in the atmosphere, Mom's eyes were stern as she set down her fork. Are you planning to move out? She said in a cool, collected tone. My smile vanished from my lips as I froze. Yes, most likely in 3 or 4 months. Prior to renting a property of my own, I wanted to save a bit more money. My parents shared an all too familiar glance that never conveyed any positive meaning. Dad began the same old lecture after clearing his throat. Grace, you are aware that due to her back condition, your mother is only able to work part-time at the library. And me? He paused. There are rumors about layoffs at the plant. Mom said, sounding as though she were delivering a heartbreaking story. With the home bills, we truly need your assistance. It would also be easier for your work if you stayed here for free. Don't you think that just makes more sense? I felt a weight in my chest as I gazed down at the cooling meatballs on my plate. Another part of me, the one that yearned for independence, roared in protest, even if they weren't incorrect. Finally, I faked a grin and nodded. I guess I can stay a little longer. Suddenly, my new existence had begun. I woke up early for work, contributed to the utility bills at night, and had dinner with my parents. At first, it seemed fine. I kept telling myself I was doing the right thing, helping my family for a little while, and soon I'd have my own place. I kept convincing myself that it was just temporary, that 3 months would fly by. But when the 4th month rolled around, I started realizing something was very wrong. One Friday evening, after a long, exhausting day of working on a new client campaign, I walked through the door only to find Mom waiting for me in the living room. A large envelope sat on the table in front of her like it had been waiting all day. I hadn't even taken off my shoes when she spoke, her voice soft but colder than the winter wind outside. Grace, your father and I did some calculations. With your current salary, you can afford to contribute more to the household expenses. I blinked, feeling a chill run down my spine. What do you mean? Dad walked out from the kitchen holding a water bill, his voice dropping. Electricity, water, internet. Everything's going up. We can't keep covering it all by ourselves. I gripped the strap of my bag tighter. So, the no-rent promise had been just sweet talk in the beginning. Now that I was getting settled in my job, they had everything lined up to make me pay more. I already buy groceries every week, I said, trying to stay calm. And I've been paying the electric bill since last month, too. Mom shook her head, giving me a sad little smile. That's just a small part, Grace. At this point, we really need you to contribute a fixed amount every month. Think of it as sharing the family responsibility. I tightened my grip on my bag, my heart sinking. Every time I thought I was making progress, it felt like another invisible chain pulled me back. I only plan to stay for a few months, I reminded them, my voice cracking. I'm saving to move out. Dad crossed his arms, his expression hardening. Saving is good, but family is family. You can't turn your back when we need you. The phrase, family is family, echoed in my head like a sad, endless song. I nodded quietly, too drained to argue, and hurried upstairs, swallowing the lump in my throat. The days that followed felt like living under a thin layer of pressure seeping into everything. Dinner wasn't light conversations anymore. It was a steady stream of subtle reminders about rising gas bills, roof repairs, and new expenses. This winter's really harsh, Mom would comment while holding the heating bill. If someone could chip in a little more, it would make things so much easier. I ate my cold soup in silence, bitterness rising inside me. One Saturday afternoon, while I was at my desk working on Madison and Cole's quarterly report, Mom knocked and entered with a stack of family health insurance papers. She smiled sweetly, but her words were razor sharp. Grace, we were thinking you could help with a small part of the insurance premiums. You know, health is everything. I looked up at her like I was seeing a stranger. Mom, I don't even have my own insurance yet. You're young and healthy. You'll be fine. She cut me off, her voice breezy, as if me carrying the entire family was perfectly natural. That night, lying in my old room, listening to the wind howl outside, I wondered when exactly I had turned into the family's walking wallet. My original plan, save for 3 months and move out, now felt as fragile as smoke, easily blown away by guilt trips, suggestive glances, and sharp words disguised as concern. I realized that if I stayed in this house, I would never be allowed to leave. I closed my eyes, the weight of an unformed decision heavy in my chest. But deep down, a tiny flame flickered. I knew I couldn't stay like this forever. I hadn't even mapped out my next move yet when one Sunday afternoon, the front door swung open, and with the cold October breeze came my sister, Lauren. Lauren, 8 years older than me, was married to a man named Craig and had 2 young kids, Ella, who was 5, and Mason, who was 3. She had lived 2 states away, but today she showed up unexpectedly with her whole family, laughter echoing through the hallway. Hi, Grace, she called out cheerfully. It's been so long. She rushed over, hugging and fussing over the kids like they were the most adorable beings on earth. I stood at the kitchen doorway, a glass of water in my hand, quietly observing. A part of me was already used to this, the way Mom lit up at the sight of Lauren, the way Dad abandoned his favorite sports broadcast to greet Craig at the door, the way the entire house seemed truly alive only when Lauren was around. Grace, could you grab another glass for Craig? Mom said sweetly without even glancing at me. I set my water glass down and silently fetched another one, like a shadow moving through the room. That night, I learned something new. It didn't matter that I was grown, that I had graduated with honors, or that I was shouldering a large part of the household expenses. In my parents' eyes, I would always be the background to Lauren's spotlight. Throughout dinner, every conversation revolved around her. Mom couldn't stop asking about the new house Lauren and Craig had just bought, the private school they were considering for Ella, or the luxury Christmas vacation they were planning. Has Ella learned to read yet? My mom asked, her eyes sparkling with pride. She's already reading children's books, Mom, Lauren beamed. And Mason is learning how to swim. He's doing great. That's wonderful, Mom exclaimed, turning to my dad, her face full of pride. Our daughter really is the best. No one asked me about my job at Madison and Cole. No one asked about the campaigns I had won, the nights I stayed up to meet deadlines. No one cared that I was trying, that I was building a life of my own. I cut my meatball into small pieces, chewing silently, barely tasting anything. After dinner, while I was washing dishes, Lauren casually appeared behind me, leaning against the kitchen counter, sipping a glass of white wine. You're still living here, she chuckled as if it was the most bizarre thing. Yeah, I replied shortly, scrubbing a plate under the hot water. You know, she sang. Living with your parents at this age is a little weird. I turned and looked straight into her pale blue eyes. The same as Mom's. I'm here to help them pay the bills, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Lauren shrugged and took another sip. Well, someone had to do it. Lucky for them, they have you. Her smile was light, but every word felt like a needle picking at my chest. That night, sitting in my room, listening to Lauren and Craig laughing in the living room, I didn't even feel sad anymore, just a cold numbness. I was never the first choice. I had never even been a choice. In this house, I was nothing more than the backup, the unpaid help, the placeholder. When Lauren's spotlight dimmed even slightly, the thought crept into my mind, clearer than ever. If I didn't save myself, no one would. Everything changed quickly, just 2 weeks after Lauren and Craig temporarily moved in with my parents, claiming their new house was under renovation. I still remember that afternoon vividly, dragging myself up the porch steps after a long day at work, only to see their SUV parked out front and hear the loud shrieks of the kids from the yard. Mom, her face lit up like I'd never seen. Thank goodness you're home. Ella and Mason are full of energy. Your father and I can't keep up. I hadn't even taken off my coat when Mason crashed into my legs, hands sticky with chocolate, and Ella ran circles around the sofa with a marker in her hand. Lauren poked her head out from the kitchen, her golden hair tied up high, her face bright and carefree. Sweetheart. Perfect timing. We were thinking of grabbing dinner out. You don't mind watching the kids for a few hours, do you? I opened my mouth to protest, but Mom was quicker, her voice sweet as syrup. You know your father and I aren't as spry anymore, Grace. You're the only one fast enough to keep up with them. I looked around at the messy house, toys scattered everywhere, new stains on the carpet, and swallowed the lump in my throat. Just a few hours, I muttered, convincing myself. But a few hours was never just a few hours. Dinner turned into drinks with friends, then coffee, then a late movie. That night, I stayed up until nearly midnight, coaxing Mason to sleep while Ella lay crying for her mom. The next day, when I tried to sit down with my parents to share how overwhelmed I felt, all I got were dismissive looks. My back was killing me all night, Dad groaned, rubbing his hip. I can't chase after the little ones anymore. Mom sighed sympathetically, mostly for herself. And I had a headache all morning. Grace, only someone young and strong like you can handle them. And so, an unspoken agreement was made. Grace was the default babysitter. I worked from 8 to 5, came home exhausted, and immediately became the unpaid nanny. On weekends, when my friends went on trips, attended festivals, or simply slept in, I juggled Mason's meals, Ella's coloring sessions, cleaning up the house before my parents' unannounced gatherings. Once, I dared to ask for a weekend off, only to be met with a stunned look, as if I had just committed a grave offense. You can't just think about yourself, Grace, Mom said, her voice heavy with guilt. Lauren and Craig need some time together. The kids are little. Who else will care for them if not you? I stayed silent. In this house, every argument revolved around one thing, everyone else's needs. Mine simply didn't exist. Worse yet, Lauren began to treat my presence as a given. Every time I walked through the door after work, she was there, waving a list of tasks: feed Mason, help Ella with preschool assignments, fold laundry, clean up toys. We've got date night, Lauren said once, applying lipstick in front of the living room mirror while I bounced a crying Mason on my hip. Someday you'll get it. This is good real-world experience for you. I clenched my jaw, feeling like I was being shackled to a life that wasn't mine. Every day, I felt myself sinking further, losing little pieces of myself. And deep down, a voice kept growing louder. It's time to change, Grace. If you don't stand up, no one will. The news came on a cold Tuesday evening as I walked through the door. Lauren sat at the kitchen table, clutching her phone, her face tense. Craig was pacing the living room, his hands running through his messy brown hair. Before I could ask what was happening, Mom appeared, her voice choked as if she had just been hit with a blow. Grace, we need to talk. I unwrapped my scarf, my stomach dropping. Craig just got notice, Mom said quickly, wringing her hands. His company went bankrupt. Lauren's family lost their main income. I looked at Lauren. She sat with her head bowed, her shoulders shaking slightly, one hand covering her face. I knew she was my sister, but I couldn't stop the unease curling inside me. So, what's the plan now? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom glanced at Dad, then back at me, her eyes full of desperate hope. We're thinking they should move in here, just temporarily, until they get back on their feet. They froze. Our 4-bedroom house already felt cramped. And now, for more people and the non-stop chaos of 2 small children. What about my room? I asked, my throat tightening. Mom didn't answer right away. Dad cleared his throat and said, "We've discussed it. Ella and Mason need a safe space to play and feel secure. We think you should give up your room." I swallowed hard. And me? You can move into the storage room, Mom said quickly, as if saying it fast would make it sound less insane. Just for a little while, Grace, you're young. You'll adjust. I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood. This storage room, that tiny space barely big enough for a twin bed and a tiny desk, the place that had always been piled high with old Christmas decorations and boxes of newspapers Dad couldn't throw away. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask why my needs were always the first to be sacrificed, but instead, I just nodded stiffly and went upstairs, feeling like someone had snatched away my life yet again. That weekend, I cleaned out the storage room. Every time I hauled another box away, a part of me went numb. My bedroom, my sanctuary for years, was repainted in soft pastels, carpeted, and filled with toys. The day Lauren and Craig officially moved in, the house turned into a chaotic beehive. Ella and Mason ran wild, shouting through the hallways. Lauren directed the furniture like a queen orchestrating her court, while Craig fumbled with Mason's crib in the dining room. Mom couldn't stop gushing over the kids. Dad brewed coffee for Craig like he was some kind of honored guest. And me? I vanished into my new room, struggling to hold back the sighs as I rebuilt my flimsy twin bed. That night, after things calmed down, I went to the kitchen looking for something to eat. There was a plate of cold cookies on the table, and the living room echoed with the sounds of a cartoon Ella was watching. Mom caught sight of me and said quickly, "Grace, can you watch Ella and Mason tomorrow? Lauren and Craig have some paperwork to take care of." I froze. "I have work," I reminded her, my voice raspy. "Just in the evening," she said, already clearing plates. "Just a few hours. You're young. You can handle it." I barely remember how I made it back to my tiny room that night. All I know is that, as I lay there listening to Ella's laughter, Craig's loud phone conversations, and Mom's softly reassuring Lauren that everything will be okay, I realized I had nothing left but this cramped space and a loneliness that seemed to fill every breath. It didn't take long to understand that Lauren and Craig moving in was just the beginning of a real nightmare. My days now started with Mason screaming at 6 o'clock in the morning. Ella pounded on my door every chance she got. I hadn't even opened my eyes before the house thundered with footsteps, clattering toys, and blaring cartoons. Hiding in my tiny room before work barely bought me 10 minutes of peace. Mason would often sneak in, smearing crayon marks or cookie crumbs all over my paperwork. Once, I spent an entire night scraping crayon stains off a client contract due the next morning. Lauren and Craig lived like they were on vacation. Lauren spent most of her time scrolling through social media or chatting with friends. Craig parked himself at the kitchen table, claiming to job hunt but mostly playing games. My parents? They were thrilled with the chaos. Whenever I mentioned the noise or the mess, Mom would chuckle. "They're just kids. Let them be free." Dad would nod along like the noise and disorder were proof of a happy family. After work, I dragged myself home, only to be thrown into the same endless cycle: babysitting, cooking, cleaning. Dinner became a frantic juggle, cutting Mason's food, mopping up Ella's spilled juice, forcing down my own cold leftovers. Worse still, the bills started skyrocketing. The first time I looked at the new electric bill, I had to reread it 3 times. It was nearly double what it had been, and it all fell on me because Lauren and Craig weren't financially stable, and my parents lived on limited pensions. When I brought it up one Thursday night at dinner, my hands shook despite trying to stay calm. "We need to talk about the bills," I said, laying the electric bill on the table. "I can't keep covering everything by myself." Lauren looked up from her phone, frowning. "Grace, bringing up money right now is really insensitive." Mom immediately chimed in, her voice full of reproach. "You know, Lauren and Craig are struggling. Family is supposed to support each other, not nickel and dime everything." I clenched my fists under the table, my chest tight. "And who's supporting me?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I'm working full-time, too. I need to save for my own future." Craig snorted, muttering, "A future does a single girl even need to save for?" Later that year, it felt like a slap to the face. I stood up, my chair screeching against the floor. "I get it," I said coldly, gathering the bill into my hands. "I'll handle my part. The rest, figure it out yourselves." I turned and walked back toward the storage room. The sound of laughter and murmured comments behind me felt like 1,000 tiny knives. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake on the small bed, listening to footsteps running wild down the hallway, the late-night TV blaring downstairs, and my mother murmuring about how Lauren handles family pressure so well. In the darkness, one thought blazed clearly in my mind. I couldn't keep living like this. If I stayed any longer, I would lose whatever was left of myself. For the first time in months, I sat up, opened my laptop, and started searching for apartments. I didn't know where I was going yet, but one thing was certain. I was leaving. And this time, I wasn't looking back. Saturday morning, just as I finished making my coffee, Mom appeared in the kitchen holding a thick stack of bills. She dropped it on the table with a heavy thud, as if she wanted the whole world to hear. "Grace, we need to talk about the electricity, water, internet, and grocery bills," she began, her expression serious. I set my coffee down, my heart sinking. I knew this conversation wouldn't end well. "Everything's gotten more expensive," Mom continued, her voice tinged with reproach. "There are more people living here now. Of course, expenses are higher." I nodded, trying to stay calm. "That's why I suggested," I said slowly, "that everyone should share the living costs fairly, each family a portion, and me a portion. That way, it's easier for everyone." The kitchen fell into sudden silence. Lauren came down the stairs, her hair neat, her face fresh, as if nothing was wrong. Overhearing the conversation, she let out a dry laugh that sent chills down my spine. "Grace," Lauren said, her voice sugary sweet but dripping with sarcasm. "Are you really going to nickel and dime your own family?" Craig called out from the living room, throwing in another jab that made my blood boil. "We're struggling right now, and you still have the heart to bring this up." Dad shook his head and sighed like I was the most ungrateful child in America. "Family means sacrifice, Grace. You can't always think about dollars and cents." Mom delivered the final blow, her voice firm as a gavel. "If you're not willing to help when the family's struggling, what kind of family member are you?" I bit my lip hard, swallowing all the arguments stuck in my throat. Any reason I gave would just be crushed under the ungrateful label they were eager to slap on me. I turned away, feeling my heart being squeezed tight. The coffee in my hand had gone cold, just like the numbness spreading through me. From that day on, my resentment wasn't just a quiet simmer anymore. It became a storm, growing bigger and stronger every day. Lauren and Craig kept using me as their free weekend nanny. Every Friday afternoon, I'd get a text from Lauren, something like, "Brah, and I have plans tomorrow night. You'll watch Ellen Mason, right?" "Thanks, love." As if it was a given. Not even worth asking. My parents kept using their health as an excuse anytime I hinted that maybe they should help. Dee's got a headache. Mari's mom's back is acting up. We're getting old. Grace, the same broken record over and over. Meanwhile, I was stuck in a never-ending loop: work, pay bills, babysit, clean, collect. One time, I dared to say no. A simple text: "I'm busy this weekend. Can't babysit." Within minutes, my phone blew up with missed calls and guilt trip messages from Mom, Dad, and Lauren, all with the same accusatory tone: "You're letting the family down. Your sister has been through so much." Only selfish people turn their backs on family in tough times. Every word felt like a dagger in my pride. But this time, instead of feeling guilty, I just felt empty. Sunday night, as I cleaned up toys scattered across the living room, Lauren strolled in with a smoothie in hand. "Era and I are going to look at model homes tomorrow morning," she said casually. "So, you'll need to watch the kids again." I froze, looking at her, feeling nothing but ice inside. "You do realize?" I said, my words sharp as stone. "I have a life, too." Lauren shrugged and smiled coldly. "Oh, Grace, you live with your parents and work a desk job. What could you possibly be so busy with?" I stood up straight, staring directly into her eyes. For the first time in months, I felt no fear, no hesitation. "Just wait," I said softly. "You'll find out soon enough." I turned and walked away, leaving behind Lauren's annoyed, confused face. Inside me, a plan was forming. And this time, I swore no one was going to crush my dreams again. I sat curled up in the cramped storage room, the dim light from an old desk lamp casting uneven shadows on the walls. In my hands was a text from Rachel, my best friend from college: "Grace, we're planning a ski trip to Blue Ridge Mountain this weekend. Come with us. You need a break from that madhouse." I stared at the screen, torn. Part of me wanted to say no like always, claim I was too busy, had family obligations, or just fear. But this time, a fierce need flooded through me. I had to get out. I had to breathe. I had to remind myself that another life existed beyond this endless cycle of bills, babysitting, and cleaning. I typed back, "I'm in. Save me a spot." Just then, I heard a knock at the door. Lauren peeked in, her perfect golden hair tied up neatly, her smile bright like she had never known hardship. "Grace," she sang. "Craig and I got invited to Uncle Gene's birthday party downtown this Saturday. Mom and Dad are coming, too. You'll watch Ellen Mason, right?" I looked up, my voice calmer than even I expected. "Sorry, I won't be home this weekend." Lauren frowned, not understanding. "Life. I'm going skiing with my friends," I repeated, emphasizing every word, but the air in the room seemed to freeze. "You're kidding." Lauren barked a sharp laugh. "Grace, this is a family thing." "No, I'm not kidding," I said, standing up, feeling a new strength rush through me. "I have a right to live my own life. I'm not your free babysitter anymore." Within minutes, shouting echoed downstairs. Pray all chiming in. A chaotic choir of outrage. "You're abandoning your family for a ski trip, Grace." Mom shrieked. "I can't believe how irresponsible you're being," Dad growled. "We trusted you, and you betrayed that trust." Craig chimed in as if he had the most right to speak. With her squeezed, Lauren pointed her finger straight at me, her voice shaking with anger. "If you walk out of this house this weekend, don't ever come back." Her words hit me like a hammer to the chest. But instead of collapsing like they expected, I simply smiled. The first truly free smile I had in months. "Don't worry," I said coldly. "I'm leaving, and I have no intention of coming back." They stood frozen as if they couldn't believe what they just heard. But I didn't give them a chance to react. I turned, went upstairs, and started packing. Not much, just a few sets of clothes, my laptop, personal documents. Dad slammed his hand on the armrest, his voice booming. You're only thinking about yourself. I swallowed the anger rising inside me and replied with a strange calmness. I've been thinking about everyone else for years. Now it's time to think about myself. Lauren scoffed, crossing her arms. Wait until you need help. Don't expect any of us to be there for you. I turned to her, the smile on my lips free of bitterness. I don't need a family that only knows how to demand, but never once asks if I'm okay. No one said a word as I quietly went upstairs and gathered the last of my belongings. One small suitcase, a few favorite books, my laptop, and my favorite coat. That was it. Everything else, the half-hearted gifts, the bitter memories, I left behind without regret. As I dragged my suitcase down the stairs, Mom rushed toward me, grabbing my arm, desperation in her eyes. Grace, please think it over. You'll regret this. I gently freed my arm from her grip and whispered, No, Mom. I'd regret staying. I opened the door. The biting January air slapped my face, waking every nerve in my body. I pulled my suitcase across the threshold, stepping outside, letting the old wooden door close behind me like the final period on a long, painful chapter. Driving back to Rachel's small apartment, my phone buzzed nonstop with calls and texts. I didn't even need to read them to know what they said. Rachel welcomed me with a warm smile and a tight hug. Welcome back to the world where people love themselves, she whispered. That night, sitting on the tiny balcony wrapped in a fluffy blanket, sipping hot cocoa, I felt truly alive for the first time in years. No more accusations, no more crushing pressure. Just sweet, peaceful silence, like a winter night without wind. 3 days later, I signed the lease for my very first apartment. A small, bright place just 15 minutes from work. It wasn't perfect. The walls had a few cracks, the floors were old, and the heater made a low humming noise. But to me, it felt like an entire kingdom of freedom. I laid fresh sheets on the bed, stacked my books on a shelf, hung a landscape photo on the wall, and when I finished, I stood in the center of the room, overwhelmed with indescribable joy. This was where I would start again. The first few days in my new apartment felt like a dream I once thought I could never have. Every morning I woke up to sunlight pouring into my room, made myself a hot coffee, and sat in the armchair by the window, soaking in the absolute peace. No crying kids, no blaring TV, no one calling my name with endless demands, just me, my little space, and complete tranquility. My bank account began to change, too. No more covering electricity, water, and internet bills for an entire household. My paycheck was now enough for rent, personal expenses, and even savings. For the first time in years, I could afford little luxuries. A new book, a dinner at my favorite Italian restaurant, a weekend trip to the beach. I signed up for a yoga class nearby, made new friends, and slowly built a life I never thought I could have. A life not suffocated by expectations and unreasonable demands. But of course, my family didn't let go easily. The first message came on a Sunday night just as I put my feet up and got ready to watch my favorite movie. Mom texted, Grace, your father and I need to talk. The family can't stay divided like this. Then Lauren, do you know the kids keep asking about you? Don't you feel guilty? Craig wasn't far behind. At the very least, you should be grateful to the people who raised you. The messages flooded in like a rising tide. When I didn't respond, the calls started. First Mom, then Dad, then Lauren, each taking turns. I held my phone, watching it light up and go dark again and again, feeling no guilt anymore. Instead, a cold, steady calm filled me. I was too familiar with this emotional manipulation. Sweet words laced with threats, fake tears mixed with accusations. I took a deep breath. Then, one by one, I blocked every number. Mom, Craig. Then I opened my social media accounts and cut ties with anyone who could act as a bridge for their complaints and guilt trips to find their way back to me. It wasn't easy. My hand trembled slightly as I pressed the block button. But once it was done, I sank into the chair, feeling as if I had just taken off a heavy suit of armor that had clung to me for years. The next morning, I woke up with a strange sense of relief. The phone was silent. No more demanding texts. No more guilt-tripping calls. I sat by the window, sipping my coffee, watching the bare trees on the street. A small smile spread across my lips. I had chosen myself, and I didn't regret it. That afternoon after work, I stopped by a small bookstore on my way home. I bought a new notebook, soft blue leather cover, and a beautifully crafted fountain pen. That night, I sat at my desk, opened to the first page, and wrote, "My new chapter begins here." I knew there would be lonely moments. There would be nights when doubt or longing crept in. But I also knew that whatever came, I would face it with a free heart. My new life gradually grew more stable day by day, and I began to learn how to listen to myself instead of the voices of others. Each morning, as sunlight streamed through the window, my heart filled with hope. I learned to savor the small things: a fragrant cup of tea, a favorite song playing while cooking, a lazy afternoon walk around the park near my apartment. These joys had once been buried under the shouts, the frowns, and the endless demands. I slowly realized that I didn't need permission to live the life I wanted. I no longer had to prove my worth by sacrificing for people who had never truly valued me. I thought back to the years I spent pushing myself, working overtime to pay bills, sacrificing precious weekends to babysit, carrying responsibilities that were never mine to begin with. All that time I believed that if I worked hard enough, loved deep enough, I would eventually be recognized. But the truth was, my kindness only made others feel entitled. I made a commitment to myself one late night while I was taking notes in my new notebook and typed a phrase, one word at a time. I deserve to be loved, respected, and free to choose my own life. I came to understand that love is not a mindless sacrifice. It's not sacrificing oneself for crumbs of love. Respect, sharing, and uplift are the hallmarks of true love. Items that I never got in my previous house. I began establishing limits after that. I gained the ability to refuse irrational requests without feeling bad for prioritizing myself. I took soft skills lessons, worked on my job, and even enrolled in a weekend cooking class, something I had never dared to do previously because I was always giving my time away to other people. Weekends were transformed into priceless times of genuine pleasure rather than being spent stumbling from fatigue. Quick road excursions, get-togethers for coffee with pals, and comfortable evenings spent reading by a lamp. I got back in touch with old pals that I had forgotten about since I was preoccupied with my family's turmoil. Real friendships, open discussions, and spontaneous laughs. They lifted my spirits like medication. Sitting at my favorite small cafe one spring day, I came to the realization that I no longer felt the desire to return. Put an end to your desire for acceptance. Don't wait for an apology or a hug to make amends. I was at ease with myself now. Even though my family still made an effort to connect with me on occasion, I didn't feel dragged back into the usual cycle of responsibility and guilt this time. Since I knew I had permanently left that darkness, I was able to grin at their attempts with composure. I made the decision to live a free, abundant, and love-filled life. First, love for myself. My narrative serves as a potent reminder that everyone has the right to live their own life, free from the shadow of another. I at last felt truly free and happy when I had the guts to let go of things that weren't mine. Life was now about establishing my own worth and aspirations rather than making quiet sacrifices. Sometimes you have to have the courage to leave even the most familiar areas behind in order to discover the light. And I succeeded. Bella Roa's waitstaff gathers close to the private dining room's door and whispers to each other. Their gaze flickers to me and back again. I check my phone for the umpteenth time and smooth the fabric of my wrapped dress, pretending not to notice. The white tablecloth mocks me with 6 empty place settings. Every setting is flawless, unaltered, and the amber glow of the wall sconces catches the wine cups. The space seems too large for one person. While you wait, may I get you something? The tone of the waiter's voice is specific to those who are dining alone. Kind, almost contrite. Please, a glass of house red. My voice remains steady. Expert. The same tone I adopt when breaking bad news to the board during quarterly budget sessions. My phone still contains the SMS I sent last week. They were all read but left unanswered. Do you remember Bella Roa's birthday dinner? Precisely 7 p.m. A private room has been reserved. Remember to have supper this evening. I'm excited to see everyone. I'm on my way to the eatery. I'll see you shortly. The wine shows up. Taking a tiny drink, I let the warmth to permeate my chest. My phone's clock indicates that it is 8:07 p.m. A notice appears. I was tagged in a remark by Rachel, my college roommate who relocated to Seattle years ago. Before I tap, my thumb lingers over it for a second. The picture loads. My stomach sinks. The backyard of Travis. My brother's trademark smile as he's grilling, his spatula held up like a prize. Mom laughing with her favorite yard chair. The patio table was crowded with cousins. The nighttime sky was filled with smoke billowing from the barbecue. 20 minutes ago, I posted. Caption: Unplanned family barbecue with Travis, our favorite man. Deserves some amusement. Before I notice it, the comments pass by in a blur. Where is Dana? Someone asks. Travis's response is seen below. Her plans were different. In my mouth, the wine becomes sour. My fingers trembled a little as I carefully put the glass down. I use my fingerprint to launch the bank app on my phone. I go back at the list of regular payments. The monthly cost of Sunrise Assisted Living is $620. Direct auto lease, $235 per month. The monthly cost of Mountain View utilities is $189.47. They are all the threads that tie my family together. I reside in a little apartment on the less trendy side of town, and my pay as a senior financial coordinator is carefully allocated for each one. The Christmas gifts I'm still paying for are included on my American Express account from last month. I paid for Travis's children's spring break vacation. Mom's emergency dental procedure, which her insurance will not pay for. My phone is buzzing. One more remark on the picture. Morrison family, you look wonderful. Sharply, a recollection comes to the surface. Not wanted. Mom's birthday card from the previous year. You always know what matters most, she wrote in a looping script. I took that as a compliment at the time. With a hesitant gait, the waiter comes closer. Will your party still be new, ma'am? I get two $20 out of my handbag. No. The bills are placed on the table by me. They are not coming. I sincerely apologize, he says. Is there anything I can wrap up for you to take home? No, thank you. I stand, shoulders back, spine straight. The room was love. I appreciate your service. The walk to my car feels longer than usual. Each click of my heels on the pavement marks another moment I won't get back. Another dinner I planned. Another celebration stolen by Travis's spontaneity. Another reminder that I matter most when writing checks. I drive past the familiar turns toward Travis's house. Past Mom's assisted living facility with its manicured lawns that my monthly payments maintain. Past the duplex where my former sister-in-law raises my niece with the utilities I keep running. The apartment complex looks different tonight, smaller. Or maybe I'm seeing it clearly for the first time and not as a temporary stopping place while I support everyone else, but as a testament to everything I've given up. I drive home, disappointed in myself. In the apartment, I remove my jewelry piece by piece. The earrings I bought for special occasions that never seemed to include me. The bracelet that cost less than 1 month of Travis's car payment. The dress I wore to impress family who couldn't be bothered to show up. Each item finds its place in my jewelry box. Each movement precise, controlled. The time for tears will come later, but not now. Not yet. My phone lights up again. 3 missed calls from Mom. 5 texts from Travis. 7 notifications from the family group chat. I turn the phone face down on my dresser. They'll notice the silence eventually. They always do when they need something. But tonight, the silence belongs to me. For once, I won't be the one to break it. With this in mind, I sit in front of my laptop and start cleaning, starting from the bank accounts, documents, shared passwords, etc. I think it's time to stop being a provider. The laptop screen bathes my kitchen in cold light at 2 a.m. Bank accounts and spreadsheets fill multiple browser tabs. My fingers rest on the trackpad, not quite touching the cancel recurring payment button for Mom's assisted living facility. A text from 6 months ago glows on my phone. Dana, you're a lifesaver. Don't know what we'd do without you, Mom sent after I covered her dental surgery. The empty restaurant table from tonight flashes through my mind. Place settings untouched. The first click feels like breaking glass. Mom's rent payment cancelled. My chest tightens, but my hand stays steady. Travis's car lease payments come next. His grateful voice echoes from Christmas morning. Best sister ever. The kids can't wait to take road trips in this. The same kids who, right now, sleep in beds bought with my credit card while their father grilled burgers at a party I wasn't welcome to attend. Click. Gone. The utilities for Sarah's place, my former sister-in-law raising my niece, vanish with another decisive tap. Last Easter, she hugged me tight. You're the only one who's never let us down. The words curdle in my memory. Excel opens with a soft chime. 6 years of carefully tracked support unfold in neat columns. Every emergency covered without question. Every just this once that became permanent. Christmas lists fulfilled while I wore last year's coat. Their family vacations funded during weeks I worked overtime to afford them. The total at the bottom of the spreadsheet stops my breath. $75,842.16. Numbers don't lie. They don't forget birthdays either, even though my family does. 2 days later, my phone lights up at 8 a.m. I've been staring at the ceiling for hours since I couldn't sleep at all, listening to the neighbor's wind chimes. Honey, did something glitch with the rent this month? Mom's voicemail carries that familiar note of assumed authority. 3 missed calls follow. Travis's text buzzes in. Car company said, the lease is unpaid. What's up? Call me as soon as possible. Sarah's message arrives last. Utility showing past due. Everything okay? The power company called. The morning sun warms my kitchen table. I pour coffee into my favorite mug, a gift to myself last Christmas while I shopped for everyone else. The familiar aroma fills my nose as I set my phone face down on the table. The silence wraps around me like a blanket. My Instagram opens to the photo I took 2 nights ago. The untouched birthday cake sits in elegant solitude. 7 unlit candles casting shadows across white frosting. My fingers type the caption slowly. Wild how the person footing everyone's bills never gets a seat at the table. Comments flood in within minutes. Rachel from accounting, wait, what? They stood you up on your birthday? My college roommate, Dana, you've been paying their bills this whole time? My neighbor Susan, girl, we need to talk. Coming over with wine tonight. The group chat notifications stack up. I watch them pile higher without opening a single one. The morning stretches peaceful and uninterrupted until my doorbell rings at 11 o'clock. Aunt Mara stands in the hallway, her silver hair catching the fluorescent light. I brought coffee cake, she says, holding up a familiar blue tin. Think we need to talk. She settles at my kitchen table, cutting neat squares of cake. Her fingers tremble slightly. I didn't know about the dinner, she says finally. Nobody told me. I sip my coffee. Let the silence stretch. Did you enjoy Travis's barbecue? The fork freezes halfway to her mouth. The what? The spontaneous family barbecue at Travis's house during my birthday dinner. Color drains from her face. That was your birthday. The same birthday I've had for 35 years. My voice stays level. The one I sent reminders about last week. The dinner everyone confirmed they'd attend. Aunt Mara sets her fork down with a soft clink. "Oh, Dana." Her eyes fix on the bank statements spread across my table, understanding dawns as she reads the numbers. "How long have you been carrying them?" 6 years, since Dad died." The words come out matter of fact. Travis needed help with the kids. Mom couldn't cover assisted living. Sarah was struggling with utilities. And they all just. Aunt Mara's voice trails off. "Forgot my birthday." "No." I fold my hands in my lap. They remembered. They chose the barbecue anyway. My phone buzzes again. Travis's name lights up the screen. "Aren't you going to answer?" Aunt Mara asks. I turn the phone face down. "No." The morning sun streams through my window, warming my shoulders. I've done enough answering for a lifetime. Aunt Mara reaches across the table, her hand covering mine. Unlike Mom's grip, hers asks for nothing. "What do you need?" The question catches me off guard. In 6 years of family dinners, emergency calls, and midnight Venmo requests, no one has asked me that. I need. My voice cracks for the first time since the restaurant. I need them to see me. Not my wallet, not my ability to solve their problems. Just me. Aunt Mara squeezes my hand. Beyond my window, the neighbors' wind chimes sing their gentle song. For once, I let the melody play without rushing to fix anything at all. After the conversation, she went home, and I was making plans on what to do with the family issues, since I know it won't end here. In that way, the days just passed by quickly. Travis's knuckles rap against my door at 2 p.m. on the following Tuesday. 3 quick taps, then silence. The sound ricochets through my apartment like a warning shot. I stand at my kitchen counter, staring at the door. The coffee in my mug has gone cold. "Dana." His voice filters through, casual as Sunday morning. "You home?" My fingers grip the edge of the granite. 1 breath. 2. The sharp corners ground me in reality. "Hey." Travis's voice again, softer now. "Practiced." "You mad?" The lock clicks under my fingers. Travis stands in my hallway, hands stuffed in the pockets of his gray hoodie, the same one he wore to Mom's birthday last month. The celebration I planned, paid for, and photographed. I step back, a wordless invitation. He slouches past me, his presence immediately filling my carefully ordered space. While I close the door, he makes a beeline for my refrigerator. The familiar whine of the hinges, the clink of bottles, a lifetime of assumed permission. "Got any of that strawberry yogurt left?" He peers inside, bending at the waist. "The Greek kind. Second shelf." My voice comes out steady, professional, like I'm directing a board meeting instead of watching my brother raid my fridge. Travis emerges with the yogurt and settles onto my couch, sprawling across the cushions. His sneakers, new, probably bought with the emergency fund I set up for his kids' school supplies, leave dirt marks on my cream throw pillow. "Look," he starts, peeling back the yogurt lid. "It wasn't a big deal, just a last-minute barbecue. Jerry brought his new smoker over. And you know how Mom loves his brisket." The words wash over me like static. Through my living room window, a cardinal lands on the fire escape, bright red against industrial black metal. The bird tilts its head, studying its reflection, then flies away. Mom's worried sick about the rent. Travis's voice cuts through my thoughts. He leans forward, elbows on knees. "The facility manager called her yesterday. Something about a payment glitch." I walk to my desk and open the bottom drawer. The manila folder comes out easily. I've handled it so many times these past days, the edges have softened. "Did you know I've paid Mom's rent for 6 years?" The bank statements spread across my coffee table like fallen leaves. Plus utilities, plus medications, plus the special chair she wanted for her room. Travis's spoon freezes halfway to his mouth. "You knew it was my birthday." My voice doesn't waver. You knew where I was. That wasn't forgetfulness. That was a choice. He flinches. Actually flinches. The spoon clatters against the yogurt container. I have the texts. My finger scrolls through my phone. Here's you that Tuesday, thanks, sis. Rent money came through. You're a lifesaver. And here's you in the family group chat 3 hours before my birthday dinner, everyone head over around 6. Bringing the grill out. Dana, come on. 6 years of car payments. Another statement joins the pile. 4 years of covering utilities for Jessica so she could afford to stay home with Emma. Christmas presents for everyone. Spring break trips I funded but never attended. Emergency dental work. New tires. Broken water heaters. The yogurt container sits forgotten on my coffee table. Travis's face has lost its practiced ease, replaced by something raw and uncertain. I've been holding this family up for years. The words taste like metal in my mouth. But apparently, I don't matter unless I'm paying for something. So you're just going to punish Mom, too? His voice rises, defensive. She had nothing to do with it. I grab my phone again. Here's Mom in the group chat, the day of my birthday. Travis's barbecue sounds wonderful. I'll bring my potato salad. She knew I was supposed to be. You all did. The silence stretches between us like a rubber band, ready to snap. Look, Travis stands, runs a hand through his hair. I'll fix this. Okay, I'll get a better job. Pay you back. We can have another birthday dinner. No. The word comes out soft but final. You can't fix this with words. Only actions matter now. What do you want from me? 3 things. I've rehearsed this list in my head for days. First, no more automatic financial support. If you need help, you ask directly and explain why. Second, you acknowledge what happened on my birthday wasn't okay. Not just the barbecue, the years of taking me for granted. Third, you start showing up for me the way I've shown up for you. My time matters. My feelings matter. My presence matters. Travis paces my small living room, a caged animal seeking escape. And if we don't? Then you learn to live without my help. I gather the bank statements, sliding them back into their folder. You all made your lives comfortable using silence. I'm just letting the silence speak for once. He stops at my door, hand on the knob. The brother I grew up with suddenly looks smaller, diminished by truth. Dana. His voice cracks slightly. I really screwed up, didn't I? The cardinal returns to my fire escape, pecking at something invisible. This time, it stays. Yes, I say quietly. You did. The door closes behind him with a soft click. In the sudden quiet, I can hear the hum of my refrigerator, the tick of my wall clock, the rustle of papers beneath my hands. The sounds of a life I built while building everyone else's brief. End of quote. My phone buzzes. The family group chat lights up with messages. I turn it face down on the coffee table. Some silences need to be heard. I spent the rest of the week without my family, so I had more time to focus on what's more important, me and my life. But this is not the end of trouble. Tuesday next week, my phone vibrates against the kitchen counter. The screen lights up with Mom's incoming call. This morning, next to her missed call notification sits an email from Sunrise Assisted Living. Subject line, urgent 10-day notice. I take a sip of coffee, letting the bitter warmth spread through my chest. The morning sun filters through my kitchen window, catching dust motes in its beam. Oliver, my gray tabby, stretches lazily on the windowsill, unbothered by the growing storm of notifications. Another buzz. Travis this time. The Carly's company must have contacted him about the missed payment. His text appears above the others. Dana, what the actual hell? The quiet of my apartment wraps around me like a blanket. No panicked family members bursting through the door. No guilt-laden voice messages playing on speaker. Just the soft purr of Oliver and the gentle hum of my refrigerator. My former sister-in-law Jennifer's message arrives next. Utility company called. Said service will be disconnected in 48 hours if payment not received. The kids have a science project due. Please, Dana. I set my mug in the sink, watching the last few coffee grounds swirl down the drain. The family group chat explodes with activity. Words like emergency and crisis flash across my screen. Aunt Mara's voice of reason trying to calm the waters. Cousin Sarah suggesting someone talk some sense into Dana. My laptop sits open on the kitchen table. Email inbox filling with payment overdue notices. Each one a small earthquake in the carefully constructed world my family built on my foundation. Each one a crack in their certainty that Dana will fix everything. A new message from Travis appears in the family chat, emergency meeting at Mom's place tonight at 7. Everyone needs to be there. Aunt Mara responds immediately, is Dana invited? Travis's reply comes quick, she's made her position clear. I close the group chat and open my work email instead. The quarterly financial reports need reviewing. Client portfolios wait for my attention. Numbers that make sense. Numbers that don't come with emotional baggage. My mother's voicemail notification pops up. I press play, setting the phone on speaker while I type. Honey, I don't understand what I did wrong. Her voice breaks. Whatever it is, we can fix it. Please call me back. The facility manager says. Well, just call me, please. The cousins start texting one by one. First, Sarah, family means standing together. You're being selfish. Then Mike, remember when Mom and Dad helped your mom after Dad walked out? That's what family does. Finally, Rebecca, you're breaking your mother's heart. Hope you're proud of yourself. I block each number methodically, like sorting papers into their proper files. Travis's Facebook post appears on my feed, tough times reveal who really cares about family. Prayers appreciated during his family difficulties. The comments roll in, mutual friends choosing sides. Some expressing shock at my cruelty, others asking careful questions about what led to this moment. Aunt Mara's comment stands out, there are always two sides to a family story. Sometimes the quietest person has carried the heaviest load. A private message from Jennifer lands in my inbox. Not a demand this time, not a guilt trip, just words that took too long to arrive. I never thanked you properly for all you've done. Not just the money, but the way you've been there for the kids, for me. I understand why you needed to stop. I'm sorry we made you feel invisible. My fingers hover over the keyboard. The easy response would be to slip back into the role of fixer, of provider. The words come slowly, thank you for understanding. I appreciate your apology. I hope you know this isn't about hurting anyone. It's about finally being honest about what hurts. The family group chat notification blinks again. I open it one last time. The screen fills with their voices talking over each other, planning ways to reason with me, discussing how to handle the situation. My message lands in their chat like a stone in still water, I didn't cut anyone off. I stopped doing things no one ever thanked me for. Before they can respond, I type again, you skipped my birthday. You pretended I didn't exist. I'm just following your lead. The chat falls silent. Individual message requests pop up one by one, each family member trying a different angle, each one discovering that my silence speaks louder than their words. End of conversation. I return to my work and emails. A week passes. Changes ripple through the family like wind through tall grass. Travis posts a job application status, starting delivery driving next week. Time to stand on my own 2 feet. Mom's carefully worded email arrives, the facility manager and I worked out a payment plan. I should have done this years ago instead of depending on you. Aunt Mara's text comes without pressure or judgment, when you're ready to talk, I'm happy to help the family understand your perspective. No rushing, no pushing, Just offering a bridge if you want one. The demands turn to requests. The accusations fade to apologies. The entitlement cracks like old paint, revealing something new underneath. I watch from my quiet apartment as my family learns to swim without using me as their lifeguard. Oliver curls in my lap, purring against my chest. On my laptop screen, a pending payment reminder for Mom's facility blinks silently. My finger hovers over the Pay Now button. The old impulse to fix everything rises like muscle memory. I close the laptop. Some lessons can only be learned in the deep end. On Wednesday morning, the Starbucks on 16th Street buzzes with its usual morning crowd. Through the window, I watch my family arrive one by one, clustering awkwardly near the entrance. Mom smooths her cardigan. Travis paces. The cousins huddle together, sneaking glances at their phones. Aunt Mara stands apart, her silver hair catching the morning light. My watch shows 9:58 a.m., 2 minutes early. The bell chimes as I push through the door. Conversations halt. Bodies shift. The family parts like water, creating a path to their chosen table. No one quite meets my eyes. Dana? Mom half rises, her hand extended toward mine. I slide into the empty chair beside her, letting her fingers grasp air. Travis clears his throat. Thanks for coming. I nod, setting my purse on the table. The leather makes a soft thud against wood. Around us, other customers type on laptops, chat with friends, live their ordinary lives. My family perches on their chairs like birds ready for flight. I ordered your usual, Mom's voice wavers. Vanilla latte. Extra shot. Thank you, but I already had coffee. The words come out gentle, professional, the same tone I use with difficult clients who think they can ignore their payment schedules. Silence stretches. Someone's phone buzzes. No one reaches for it. Mom breaks first. We're family. Her fingers twist a paper napkin into rope. Family forgives. I can pay you back. Travis leans forward, elbows on knees. Not all at once, but over time. I've got that new job at, everyone makes mistakes, Aunt Mara cuts in. Nobody's perfect, Dana. The cousins study their coffee cups. Steam rises in lazy spirals. Outside, a bus rumbles past, its brakes squealing against the morning traffic. I let the silence build, let them fill it with nervous shifts and half-started sentences, let them feel the weight of everything unsaid. For years, my voice stayed quiet, controlled. I thought family meant sacrificing without recognition. Mom's napkin shreds beneath her fingers. I gave because I loved you. The truth flows now, steady as a heartbeat. Not because I had to. Not because you needed it, because I wanted to show love the way I knew how. Travis opens his mouth, closes it. But that night at the restaurant, a customer's chair scrapes nearby. When you chose Travis's barbecue over my birthday, that wasn't about money. That wasn't about scheduling conflicts or misunderstandings. The cousins won't look up from their cups. That was a statement, clear as daylight, my presence doesn't matter. My hands rest flat on the table, steady. Only my financial support does. The silence stretches, grows, takes on weight. A tear trails down Mom's cheek. I took you for granted. We all did, Travis's voice cracks. His usual smooth confidence splinters. I've been selfish. God, Dana, I'm so sorry. My former sister-in-law, Sarah, wipes her eyes. You were the glue. We knew it. We just got comfortable letting you hold everything together. Dana deserves better, Aunt Mara's hand finds my shoulder. From all of us. The morning light streams through the windows, painting shadows across our little gathering. The coffee shop hum continues around us, espresso machines whirring, customers chatting, life moving forward. I pull a folded paper from my purse, set it on the table. These are my terms for moving forward. They lean in, shoulders tight. No more automatic financial support. My finger taps each point. If you need help, you ask directly, respectfully, and you acknowledge the help when it comes. Nods around the table. We share holidays, birthday celebrations, family dinners. Not just when it's convenient, not just when Travis decides to fire up his grill. Travis flinches. My birthday matters. The words come out firm. My time matters. My presence matters. Not just my wallet. Yes, Mom's voice strengthens. Yes to all of it. And one more thing, I say. I need each pair of eyes. I need you to see me. Not as the responsible one, not as the fixer, not as the bank, just me. Sarah reaches across the table. Her fingers hover near mine. We can do that. We will do that. Aunt Mara corrects, the morning sun warms my back. Outside, the city wakes fully to life. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wails. Inside our coffee shop bubble, my family shifts and settles, adjusting to this new reality. Travis straightens. So, what happens now? It's been a year since I first realized that, but knowing it and living it have turned out to be two very different things. A year later, a knock at my door breaks the evening quiet. I glance at my phone, 7:04 p.m. No texts, no reminders set, just another Tuesday in April. The knock comes again, softer this time. Oliver, my gray tabby, lifts his head from the window sill and blinks at me with mild interest. I open the door to find my entire family crowded in the hallway of my apartment building. Mom clutches a small cake box from Giovanni's bakery. Travis holds what looks like handmade cards. Aunt Mara stands slightly behind them, a knowing smile on her face. Happy birthday, Dana, Mom's voice wavers. No one moves to hug me. Not yet. They wait, watching my face with careful attention I'd never seen before last year. I step back, holding the door wider. Come in. They file into my living room, the same room where I'd stripped off my wrap dress last year, where I'd turned my phone face down and let silence become my shield. Now they settle onto my couch and armchair, leaving the spot closest to the window, my favorite empty spot for me. Travis sets a chocolate cupcake on my coffee table. A single candle flickers in its center. Made it myself, he says, rubbing the back of his neck. Kelly helped with the frosting, but I did most of it. You baked? The question slips out before I can stop it. YouTube tutorials, he shrugs, but pride edges into his voice. Turns out following instructions isn't that hard when you actually try. Mom places her cake box next to Travis's cupcake. We know it's not Bella Roa, she says, but we thought maybe something smaller might need more. The memory of last year's empty private dining room flashes through my mind. 7 place settings. Nobody came, but the people who didn't show up then sit in my living room now, watching me with eyes that carry the weight of 12 months worth of learning. Open this one first, Aunt Mara hands me an envelope. Inside, I find a letter in Mom's familiar handwriting. My fingers trace the edges of the paper, remembering last year's birthday card. You always know what matters most. This letter begins differently, I see you now. Travis clears his throat. Got something else for you, too. He pulls out his wallet, removes a folded paper. My last car payment. He smooths it flat on the coffee table. Bought it myself. Used, but it runs. No more lease payments needed. Travis, not asking for praise, he cuts in. Just wanted you to know I'm handling my own stuff now. Mom touches my hand. The assisted living facility gave me a part-time job in their office. Just 3 days a week, but it helps with the rent. I should have done it years ago instead of, she stops, swallows. Instead of taking you for granted. A thick photo album appears in my lap. I take it from the shelf in my living room. The cover reads, The Year We Grew Up. Inside, pictures tell the story of 12 months I hadn't witnessed directly. Travis in his delivery uniform. Mom at her desk in the facility's office. My former sister-in-law Sarah's monthly updates about my niece, each one addressed to Aunt Dana, with increasing warmth. "Thank you for teaching us all dignity," Aunt Mara says quietly. The words hang in the air between us, heavy with truth. I turn another page in the album. A photo of the empty table at Bella Roa stares back at me. Someone must have taken it that night. Beside it, a more recent picture. All of us at Aunt Mara's dinner table last month. Plates of pot roast and green beans scattered between us. Everyone had brought something. Everyone had helped clean up. My fingers brush the edge of the Bella Roa photo. The ache is still there, but duller now, like a bruise nearly healed. Mom says, "If you want, we'd like to take you to dinner." Everyone helped out. At that new Italian restaurant on Pearl Street, we had reservations. I look at their expressions, eager and frightened but not demanding. Nobody picks up their phone. Nobody cites other plans as an excuse. They wait for my response with the patience of those who have realized that everyone has an equal amount of time. "Yes," I reply. "I'd like that." We collect our jackets. The door is held by Travis. As we make our way to the elevator, Mom puts her arm around mine. A year ago, this gesture might have been manipulative, but today it just conveys affection. And to celebrate my birthday, we traveled together. Without being requested, the server at the restaurant presents separate checks. It's not much, but it counts. Nobody anticipates that I will grab my money first. The dialogue is fluid and interspersed with sincere giggles. Tales of my niece's most recent soccer match, which I attended last weekend, Mom's experiences with the facility's file system, and Travis's initial baking attempts. To Dana, Aunt Mara says, lifting her glass of wine. "Who showed us that love isn't measured in dollar signs?" The table trembles with the toast. I see what I've always desired in their eyes, acceptance of who I am rather than what I provide. I wrote the last check on a life centered around the needs of others while sitting by myself in a private dining room a year ago. I'm writing the first chapter of something fresh, something genuine, while sitting in a packed restaurant with my family tonight. My dessert, a tiramisu with a solitary candle, is brought by the server. I see my reflection in the glass as I bend forward to blow it out. Not only does she write the checks and solve the issues, but the lady staring back at me does more than that. She's just Dana. And at last, that's sufficient.